Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for this week's newsletter by G. Edward Griffin. It's the unfiltered news from Reality Zone, where political correctness is not spoken here, with his news scouts who scour the news headlines throughout the week to bring you news you may not have seen or read. This is for July 28th through August 3rd, 2012. And this is the comic strip, or actually just the media managerator.net. You didn't win that election. The media made that happen. To Obama saying that you didn't make that job. Somebody made that job for you. Made you successful in your career. And, that's just ridiculous. That's Marxism talking. And same with Obama's word, forward, is a Marxist word or a communist word. I like how he's just sitting there thinking that we're all a bunch of communists now. And we're not. This is America, don't you know? Home of the brave and the free. Mom and apple pie and the Constitution. Not the 10 planks of communism by Marx. The headlines for this week. Starting off with U.S. The media is reporting an improvement in employment, but the numbers are distorted by statistical tricks such as an exaggerated adjustment for seasonal employment and birth and death adjustments. Bottom line? Employment is still bad. Zero Hedge, 2012, August 3rd. And it's really bad. Actually, if you look at all the people who are not looking for jobs anymore, who went other ways and just can't get a job, it's basically Depression era by almost double. It's around 42% unemployed. Syria. It has been reported that Obama signed a secret order allowing the CIA and other agencies to support the anti-government rebels, similar to the secret order he signed for Libya last year. The rebels have been granted $25 million in U.S. taxpayer money, and there are reports that they also have received anti-aircraft missiles. Russian television, August 2nd. And that's Obama for you. Signing up for this stuff, giving weapons off to the rebels, the mercenaries. U.S., the FDA has approved a microchipped pill that transmits a signal when it contacts the digestive juices that allows medical attendants to monitor your drug consumption. The good side is that it could alert them to an overdose. The bad side is that if you are confined to an institution such as a hospital or school or detainment camp, it will be difficult to avoid medications you do not want. Natural Society, August 2nd. Remember that they're trying to imprison the U.S. people. Video. Warning. Graphic video of rebels or mercenaries in Syria executing prisoners. Russian television, August 1st. And that's true. You're not allowed to do that. That's against the Geneva Convention. To execute any prisoner of war. Though they say this is war. We kill people. No, you capture them. They gave up their arms to you. You've captured them. They are prisoners now. You don't execute your prisoners. Or they will just start doing that over there when they catch an American person. They'll just execute him on the spot. And go against that's like throwing the Geneva Convention out the window. That's called war crimes, people. And these mercenaries don't seem to care. That's attacking Syria. New York. Federal judge rules that Al-Qaeda and Iran were responsible for the 9/11 attacks and has ordered them to pay $6 billion to American survivors and their families. The money could be taken from seized Iranian property and funds inside the U.S. Although this decision is popular, there is no credible evidence to support it. InfoWars, August 1st, and there's none. I mean, the dancing Israelis, Mossad's, on 9/11 should tell you who was behind it. They were celebrating as the buildings fell down. See, whenever they need an enemy, they just blame the next one. They said Saddam was responsible and others. They just went on and on. Anytime they need somebody to blame, guess what? That becomes the person who did 9/11. They're trying to get us into a World War III. Remember that. The banksters are getting scared. Without a war to take our minds off of them, they're going to go to jail or worse. Video. Ron Paul lays it on the line in this short message to Congress. And it's true. I watched it. He tells the truth. He tells it all. He tells them, you cannot be doing this. We're not supposed to be over there doing it. He speaks of the foolishness of war in Iran, which is no threat to the U.S. And there is no threat to the U.S. He even called them a third world country. It's like, it's a third world country. They don't have nukes. They don't have anything. At least they signed the nuclear oh, shoot, now it slips my mind. And he hammers at the hypocrisy of claiming that wars in the Middle East are to protect the civil liberties of their civilians, while Americans are subjected to assassination, indefinite detention, and warrantless wiretaps in their own homeland. It's very powerful. YouTube, August 1st. Worth watching and even collecting. It was a nuclear... man, it slips my mind. There'll probably be an article here soon on it. Nuclear proliferations or something. It's on the tip of my tongue. But they signed that. Israel has not signed that, and they have nuclear weapons. They're even now coming out saying, yeah, we got nukes. So why aren't they getting signed up so we can have inspectors go in and inspect them and see what they've got? We know everything that Iran has. Iran doesn't have nukes. The people that go over there and inspect that from the UN and NATO say they don't got nukes. They don't got nothing. They're creating medicines and stuff. Oh, but the nuclear medicines that they're creating is in direct confrontation to Israel's nuclear medications. In other words, they don't like the competition. It's sin, don't you know? Competition is sin. Ask J.P. Morgan and others. That's what's going on. That's why the banksters are shutting everything down on anyone outside. That's why they went after Libya and stuff. That was competition. You know, Gaddafi wanted to make his own bank and have his own money based on gold and stuff. Oh, the world banks couldn't see that. That was competition. And that's a sin, don't you know, to have competition. U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta says the U.S. military action will be used if Iran fails to limit its nuclear production. The competition against Israel, as he contends that Iran has plans to build a nuclear bombs. Oh, really? Then why aren't they finding them when they go over and do inspections? Obama and Romney support Israel's right to defend itself. Yeah, defend its profit off of its nuclear developments and medicines and things. With the help of the U.S., Obama recently released an additional $70 million in funds to Israel. Can there be any doubt about where this is headed? Fox News, August 1st. Yeah, we gave them $70 million more to the parasite. Does Israel give us anything? Nothing. We keep giving them money and money and money, and they give nothing back. At least we get something from China, and we owe them. And they still... And we actually owe them. We keep borrowing money from them so we can buy bullets and bombs and go and kill people, or women and children in the Middle East who have nothing except minerals and wealth to be robbed by the banksters. Don't you know? U.S. In February of this year, 16 U.S. intelligence agencies concluded that Iran does not have nuclear weapons and has no plans to build them. 16 U.S. intelligence agencies. But yet we got to go over there because competition is a sin. New York Times, August 1st. Video. The BBC and The Guardian are reporting that a Syrian TV news reporter defected to Turkey because he didn't want to report pro-Syrian government propaganda. Now there is evidence that his story is not true and that the BBC Guardian version is itself propaganda against the Syrian government. Russian television, August 1st. And you should see that The Guardian used a picture, I believe it was The Guardian. It was one of the British newspapers, used a picture of this guy and his baby he's holding, and he's walking with his wife in the burqa, or whatever, the covering over her face, and it shows this whole city behind him with like buildings blown away and everything. That was photoshopped from a scene where he's walking around a corner and there's nothing behind him that's destroyed. It's faked. They're trying to egg the world into going into World War III for profit and distraction. China warns Obama that his new sanctions against Iran violate international law and will strain the U.S.-Asian relationship. China banks are adversely affected by these sanctions because they got money out, loaned to them, to the other countries. RT, August 1st. Video. U.S. The former head of the Drug Enforcement Administration says that the CIA has been a major drug smuggler of cocaine into the U.S. for decades, and that the government has worked with the protected drug smugglers in other countries. The reason for this is that it generates secret funding for the CIA activities around the world that would never be approved by Congress or the American people. Alexandra Higgins, July 31st. Don't you remember the movie Con Air, or Con America, or what was it called? Just Con Air, where they were smuggling it in on C-130s, all the cocaine. It's an older movie, but it's based on facts. Oh, the CIA has no... If you check on CIA, they get no money from the government or from the American people. They get it from the drugs that they bring up here using military equipment like C-130s and C-131s and other means. The illegals carrying it on backpacks along with it. They're in on what's going on down in Mexico and South America. They're in on it. Video reality check on Fox News Channel gives an excellent short course on the Federal Reserve and why an audit would be useful to expose the profound corruption that is embedded in the system. To our surprise, it even includes a plug for our book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. YouTube, July 31st. An excellent book. Everyone should read the book Creature from Jekyll Island. It tells you how the banksters got so powerful that now they're worldwide. Video. Los Angeles citizens protest oil and gas fracking, which is unregulated in California. Poisons the water table. Companies that use this method of extracting gas and oil have spent $747 million lobbying Congress to obtain exemptions from customary safeguards against water pollution and triggering earthquakes. Yeah, they say it may be triggering earthquakes when they're down there blasting through this fluids of detergents and things that are just toxic to the water table. Their fracking chemicals remain secret even though they can end up in the water supply. Russian television, July 31st. There's videos on YouTube where there's actually documentaries, and somebody put them up on YouTube, where they've been fracking, and it poisoned their entire water table on his farm. He thought, oh shoot, they're just going to be under there, extracting that gas and stuff. But it poisoned his water table. It ended up killing all his cattle and sheep and stuff they had on his farm. It's just terrible. It poisons your water if you have well water. Iran sentences 4 people to death for a $2.6 billion banking embezzlement scam by an Iranian investment group. Others were sentenced to long-term imprisonment. Does this stimulate any ideas? Business Insider, July 30th. Think about it. They killed their banksters that were robbing their people for just $2.6 billion. Our banksters, J.P. Morgan and others, Goldman Sachs and the rest, have done trillions. What do you think they deserve? Really? Think about it. We need to start doing this. We need to start knocking heads here on these people. We start taking some of them and putting them in prison and executing them. I think this will all go away with the banksters and robbing the world of its money and charging interest on money. We should not have any interest on our money. That's the thing. If you can take the interest away, the payout money works. It's just that you're paying somebody who claims that I'm printing this money and I'm lending it to you for the face value on it, and you got to pay interest on that money. That's how this banking system works with the Federal Reserve. USA, National Security Agency, asked for control over who is allowed to use the internet. The proposal calls for requiring all users to be registered with the government and have a passcode before being allowed to access the internet. If the government does not approve your message, your code can be deactivated. This is protect against terrorism, of course. Yeah, terrorism against them being exposed for the crimes that they're doing. This is why we have alternative media, because the mainstream media does not cover the crimes of the government. As a matter of fact, the New York Times came out with an article that actually said we take our orders of what we can put out there from the government. They have like a 1984 where, the book of 1984 where they actually go over all your stories and say, we don't like this, either throw it out or rewrite it for a more positive light towards the government. That's not America. InfoWars, July 30th. That's why they're called the fourth, on the tip of my tongue. They're the watchdogs, basically. The news media is supposed to be the watchdogs to make sure the government's not being criminal. And apparently they've been bought off and threatened off. But the alternative media is the true now. That's giving you all the news. Video. Global bank HSBC is implicated in 3 separate fraud schemes: money laundering, business loan fraud, and LIBOR interest rate rigging. The HSBC has set aside $2 billion to settle the first 2 cases. Their part in LIBOR is still under investigation. The fines are a small price to pay for the much larger illegal and unethical profits derived from their fraud. Do not expect senior executives to pay any of this. It will all come from stockholders who generally are not concerned so long as profits exceed the fines. That's right. Hooters, July 30th. And supposedly James Holmes' father was involved in LIBOR and was going to be a whistleblower against them. And that was going to happen, just after the incident that happened in Colorado at the theater. Think about it. Was he set up? And there's actually pictures on there that show a picture of what supposedly James Holmes looks like now to what a picture just before that. And you can see side-by-side split comparison down the face. This is not the same person. Who knows who that is that they got in the court with the red hair? Who knows? It's actually maybe a look-alike. And who knows what's happened to his son, actually. Is his son being held for ransom to keep him from talking and going forward on the LIBOR case as a witness. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Scalia hints at future decisions that would undermine the Second Amendment by allowing the government to limit private ownership of guns. The fact that this statement is made at the launch of a new campaign for gun control is significant. It is clear that plans have been made to condition the public to accept this. InfoWars, July 29th. Oh yeah, they're hinting at future decisions. They're taking orders from the UN. The Small Arms Treaty from the UN. A foreign entity controlling our laws. Agenda 21 is just another control arm of the UN over our land. Are we going to allow foreigners, a foreign entity, to control our country? I think we should be up in arms over it. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said that sanctions have not stopped Iran's nuclear plan, so a military threat is needed. They're threatening our... No, again. An Israeli newspaper reported that the U.S. National Security Advisor Tom Donilon briefed Netanyahu on contingency plans for a pre-exemptive strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, the competition against their medicine making. This report later was criticized by an unidentified Israeli officer who said it was full of factual errors. Donilon did not meet the Prime Minister for dinner. He did not meet him one-on-one, nor did Donilon present operational plans to attack Iran. That means Donilon met the Prime Minister after dinner, met with him and others, and presented a contingency plan, not an operational plan. AFP, American Freedom Press, July 29th. See? It's all coming out in the wash. Just like the Colorado shooter, it's all coming out in the wash. There was more than one person. There was one of the people that was involved in the attack on the theater, because there was more than one person who invaded that theater, dragged the girl out through the back door, dragged her down, had her by knife, either stabbed her, cut her throat, something, and got away from the attacker, who ran off, threw his gas mask down. There was a gas mask sitting out. There's a second gas mask, and he got away in an escape vehicle, either on the highway behind the theater or down the road somewhere. So, see, the story is starting to crumble, what the mainstream media said and what the law enforcement is saying. And plus there's scanners, transmissions on YouTube that you can listen to about just put in scanner on the shooter in Aurora, something of that nature, and you'll be able to listen to the scanner where these police are calling in talking about more than one suspect in the theater shooting people. I mean, we're being lied to, people. We're being manipulated mentally and physically and emotionally. They want you to give up your guns, give up your rights, so they can control you and the criminals can control you. They already proved that gun control doesn't work. Everywhere they've taken away guns, Australia is now up in arms, saying we want our guns back. Only people who have the guns are the police, who are abusing us, and the criminals. And we don't want it. A guy had his house broken into. He was tied up and held at gunpoint, and they rummaged through his house and stole everything. He told the police, and they go, well, yeah, that's what happens in here in Australia now. You know. Yeah, that's what's happening in America soon. Don't let it happen. Don't give up your Second Amendment nor your First Amendment. That's why they're the first and second. They're the two top most important of all the amendments of our Constitution, Bill of Rights, actually. It's the First and Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights. And then it's the third, where you not let officers quarter. And the fourth, you will not let them come and take things from you personally, blood, anything out of your body, or your personal effects in your home, your castle. The fifth, you will not be forced to admit to anything. That's why a lot of people say, I claim the fifth, because that would be admitting to a crime that they may or may not have done. There's reasons for these Bill of Rights, and that's why we got them. It keeps us free. It keeps the government from being a tyrant, which it's trying to become as hard as it can, or a dictatorship, as Obama would like to see it. U.S. record number of 57 coal plants will be shut down in 2012 due in large measure to the new EPA regulations. Higher energy prices will follow, particularly in the Mid-Atlantic states. Daily Caller, July 28th. Obama's doings again. Shutting down the coal plants. Those things have scrubbers. They got everything. The only thing you see coming out of those stacks is steam. I'm telling you, they scrub that stuff out. There's no sulfur going in the air or anything. That's a bunch of bunk put put out by the EPA and greenies who believe the lies that they're told by these people who are basically following the Communist Manifesto. Oh, it just makes me mad. Ireland. Several top Irish Anglo Bank officials are arrested for fraud and making secret loans to insiders. That happens here all the time in our JP Morgan's, Goldman Sachs. I mean, I have to go down, Lehman Brothers. After losses, the bank was bailed out for $36 billion at a cost of $8,000 for every person in Ireland. If convicted, their maximum penalty will be only 5 years in prison. They should be in there a little bit longer than 5 years. I mean, they should be whatever has to be done, like Greenland did. Or Iceland, I should say. Iceland did. Canadian Business posted July 28th. U.S. In a subcommittee hearing, Republican members of Congress said that the journalists at the New York Times should be charged under the Espionage Act for their recent stories about Obama's kill list and cyber attack in Iran. The Electronic Freedom Front posted July 28th, and they shouldn't be charged for this. They were like whistleblowers. They're telling you of the corruption and when he has a kill list. This president is killing more people. I mean, that's why they had that billboard up with James Home on one side and Obama on the other, and it asked, who killed more people, more civilians? And it's true. Who has killed more civilians? Well, Obama in his faceless unpersonal drones. U.S. House passes red tape reduction bill to roll back new regulations that have increased by 35% under Obama. Cost to the economy is estimated at $11.3 billion a year. The bill will meet tough opposition in the Senate, and Obama can veto it, so no one should expect much. Anyway, a better approach would be for Congress to simply defund or cancel the laws that carry the regulations in the first place. But that would never happen so long as Congress is controlled by collectivists. That's right. People that believe that you should give them everything and they will take care of you. Sure, collectivists, the few ruling the many as a king or something, and dukes and royalty in both major parties. And it's in both major parties, collectivist. House Gov. It's the House Gov. That's a government website. July 28th. It says Gov. You're not allowed to have that for a normal person. That's part of the government. Like military.gov, like navy.gov, and airforce.gov, and whitehouse.gov. See, that belongs to the government. So this is telling you right there. They're coming out just oh, man. Video. The U.S. Inspector General, the IG, has found that the IRS is encouraging fraud by allowing illegal aliens to use bogus child credits on their tax forms to gain huge refunds, costing U.S. taxpayers $4 billion a year. Due to publicity from the IG funding, the IRS says it now will crack down on the fraud. Congress has introduced legislation to limit the child tax credit only to U.S. citizens, but it lacks support. WTHR posted July 28th. See, they're giving it out to everybody except Americans directly. U.S. Department of Defense has contracted with Medicargo, a government-funded vaccine company, for 10 million doses of a swine flu vaccine that is cultured inside the leaves of live tobacco plants. Sounds impressive now, if only the threat of a swine flu were real and only those vaccines actually worked. That hasn't happened yet in all previous so-called epidemics, but hope, or is it hype, springs eternal. Anyway, nice sell, Medicargo. Bonuses should be big this year. Yes, and they probably will be. GSN posted July 28. You know what's wrong with them coming up with these vaccines ahead of time? Until the actual flu is out there for whatever type of flu it is, the vaccine can't be made to be effective until they get the exact strain. So when they come up and make this stuff 6 months ahead of time, that just means that the stuff is just worthless. It won't do a bit of good for you. And it may even hurt you with the adjuvants in it and the mercury in it and things of that nature. I mean, ooh, these people are eugenicists. I'm telling you, they want to kill the population, and they're trying as hard as they can through all types and methods. Little kills here and little kills there. Slow kills. They just want to slowly kill off so you don't realize you're being killed. The U.S. Post Office is defaulting on the $5.5 billion it has failed to generate to pay for its retirees' health care. This analysis says that privatizing the postal service is the only answer because that is the only way to remove politically motivated subsidies from unprofitable classes of mail. To this we might suggest closing it down completely and letting the UPS and Federal Express purchase the useful assets. And it might be. We might have to close the post office down and use the other services of UPS and Federal Express. Policy Mike, August 1st. Because they seem to be not able to get out of their debt with all the money they're putting away for the people who are retiring. And it's really not their fault for that. It's like Amtrak. I mean, really, the post office and Amtrak are basically the same. Amtrak is always in the hole and always being bailed out because it's being subsidized by the government. And it's just not working right. And I'll have more on that maybe next week if something comes up more about the post office or even starts mentioning Amtrak, and they need more money. Russian scientists say that the wealthy elite will be able to achieve artificial immortality by 2045 by way of holographic human avatar bodies and synthetic brains. Just because we report this does not mean we believe it. Natural Society, August 1st. This is their dream, though. The elite 1% want this. They want to kill us off, and then they'll live in these holographic human avatar bodies and synthetic brains and continue to rule and conquer the universe or something. I mean, that's what they believe. And they want us in, like Bill Gates and company. Bill Gates, who bought Monsanto, and you wonder where all the genetically engineered poisons are coming from. Well, his parents were eugenicists. Do your research, you'll find out Bill Gates' parents is. Bill Gates, the leveraged philanthropy, is a penetrating analysis of how Gates Foundation appears to be working for the benefit of mankind, but in reality is supporting research and global programs that benefit the corporations in which he is invested, such as Monsanto. Mercola, July 31st. U.S. House Republicans say they want to stop Obamacare, but if they were sincere, all they have to do is refuse to fund it. Instead, they have voted 30 times to abolish it, knowing that such a measure will not pass the Democrat-controlled Senate or avoid Obama's veto, but they never fail to authorize funding. In this way, they can look good to their constituents but stop short of effective action. Such is the political charade of the so-called two-party system, which is one party on one coin with a donkey on one side and an elephant on the other. Western journalism, July 30th. And that's how they do it. Like I said, all they had to do is say, we're not funding this, because Congress runs the money. And all they have to do is say, we're not going to fund this. And they'll bypass the Senate, and they won't have any say in it, and Obamacare goes away. Isn't that so simple? We can get rid of this scam where they're going to have death panels and everything. I mean, they're already starting death panels and stuff, it seems. I mean, they're putting out, they got doctors bought into it, some of them. They're putting out prescriptions that says it will give you heart attacks and everything, and supposedly it's a high blood pressure medication, and it will give you high blood pressure, or supposedly reduce your high blood pressure, but will give you a heart attack and palpitations and dizziness and all these side effects. And then the doctor will turn around and say, well, if you don't take this, you may have a heart attack. Well, let's see. One says it can give you a heart attack, and another says that you might have a heart attack. Let's see. Way between taking something that actually says the side effect is maybe a heart attack. Or taking my chances and lowering my blood pressure using natural means. I think I'll take the natural means. Financial analysis. Ram Hira says there is no end in sight to the banksters' financial crime wave because a too-big-to-fail policy inevitably leads to bank bailouts financed by an ever-expanding money supply and inflation. This is a simple concept that often is lost in the technical jargon of mainstream commentators. Ron has it exactly right. YouTube posted July 28th. Gotta see the video. Too big to fail should be allowed to fail so someone else can step up behind them to take charge and fix it. But no, we'll bail them out for several trillions of dollars. I think it's $100 trillion we bailed out in all over the years. That should never have happened. Never. The Washington Post reported that Skype, which used to be a private and secure, is now share its transmissions with government. That's right. When you're on Skype now, you may be monitored. The Post also implied that only people who are concerned about privacy are political dissidents and criminals. Yeah, right. We are the dissidents and criminals. The American people since 9/11 when they passed the Patriot Act bill and the NDAA. We are the terrorists and the criminals and the dissidents. This article nicely obliterates that argument. Or obliterates it? Yes, they do. Liberty Crier, July 28th. That's right. We are now considered that. When we wake up to it, that will be when we are free again. Because we'll wake up and say no all at once. And they'll go, ooh, and back away. And then we can go after them. And everybody knows who the criminals are. Photo of the week. A video, the beauty of flowers in birth. And it shows them flourishing and opening up and everything. It's a good little video. Probably enjoy that. Click to enlarge. This is probably good because it looks like somewhere in San Francisco. Or that's where... roads are like that in San Francisco. I mean, literally, straight up roads is about. Unfiltered humor for this week. A typewriter as a musical instrument. Click and enjoy that. That should be interesting. And other things. And that's the news for this week of headlines you may have missed. And my commentary by Spellbinder. I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a fabulous tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. And be good, or be good at it. And good day.